Hey you, yeah, you there, sitting there watching videos about SIFU on YouTube. Guess what, mate? Well, I've platinum SIFU on PlayStation 5, and I've got a lot of experience with the game now, but I'm not here to brag, oh no. I'm here instead to help you determine whether you should platinum SIFU or not, as I share my experiences, trophy tips and tricks from my platinum journey. Now, I may have suffered and struggled to get some of the trophies in this hard game, but thanks to my tips and tricks in this video, you hopefully won't have to. So, SIFU has 43 trophies in the game, including the platinum. There's 3 golds, 13 silvers, and 26 bronze trophies to unlock. And as you can see from the clips I'm showing you, I've platinumed the game on both PS5 and PS4, so I'd like to think I kind of know what I'm talking about when it comes to the trophies in SIFU. So, right underneath the platinum trophy in the default list, there are 6 trophies that all relate to the game's story, with the final one being a gold for completing the game. So you get your first one for completing the opening prologue chapter, and then you'll end up getting another trophy for beating every boss at the end of each level. Now, the bosses are some of the toughest things you'll face in the game, but thankfully they aren't really as hard as like a Dark Souls or Demon Souls boss, and they don't have any cheap moves where they can just like one-shot kill you or anything, so it's just a case of playing them a few times, learning their attack patterns and when you can attack them without getting hurt. The first boss, for example, is quite easy if you go in there with the bamboo sticks and hit him with those. The second boss did give me a bit of trouble at first, but it's here where I finally learn how to do the dodge move, which you do by holding down the L1 button and then pressing down to dodge high attacks, up to dodge and jump over low attacks, and then left and right to move the other way. And once you learn that, you can easily dodge all of that boss's attacks as he swings his big staff around. So that's a big trick for that boss. And for the rest of the game in general, you always want to make use of that L1 button instead of the R1 or R2 button to do the evade move. The third boss is also quite tricky when you first get to her, as it can be hard to know when to actually fight her, but I find you have to wait for her to do a combo where she ends it jumping up in the air and slamming down. She leaves herself wide open at that point, and you just rush in and hit her then. So each boss has 2 phases to them, and the third boss's phase is drastically different to the other. So with this one, it's a case of mainly just standing still, not doing really what I'm doing here, as it's a lot easier to dodge and use the L1 button to evade her attacks while you're standing still. Eventually she'll rush in, and that's when you can hit her. When she does this charge attack, you want to make sure you get out of the way of that, because that will hurt you. But yeah, that one, you just gotta be patient with her, because she always uses the shurikens to like keep you at a distance and push you back. The fourth boss is also another ranged one, but she shouldn't give you that much trouble once you learn her 3-hit combo where she does 2 high swings followed by a low swing. So the second swing is kind of done faster, there's not as much of a delay on it, and the third swing you just want to jump over. As soon as you've jumped over that third swing, you want to just sprint towards her and start punching her. You can easily build up your structure meter fighting her here, so you should be able to get a few focus attacks on her, and you basically just repeat that. Once you're in close, she'll often just grapple hook away to space out a bit more, and you kind of do want to let her get away so you can easily dodge that combo again and then just rush in to attack her once more, and before you know it, that first phase of the fight will be over. And then in the second one, it's pretty much the same, to be fair, though the 3-hit combo sort of changes slightly in that the first attack will glow orange and she'll sort of delay that initial swing. But you've got to be careful with that one, because if she hits you with that, she locks onto you and pulls you in and then does a combo once you get close to her. So if you do get caught with that one, just keep holding the block button and you'll only really take the first hit as a damage point. The final boss can be tricky, especially when facing him with age restrictions, but as soon as the fight starts, you just want to try and always keep right on top of him and just be ready with L1 to dodge his attacks. If he ever lunges backwards really quickly, like you can see here, he's always going to do a charge at you, so you just dodge upwards, L1 and up to jump over his attack, and then just punish him with triangle. That's what I'm doing with all of the bosses, just blocking and dodging, waiting for my time to strike, and then just leading with a triangle combo. If he ever does like a combo at you and you dodge it, but then he quickly sidesteps, be ready because he's about to follow it up with another combo, and if he does end up clipping you with that, he can do quite a bit of damage. That's really his only attack that you need to watch out for in this first phase. The others are really predictable, just stay close to him at all times, and remember that if he lunges backwards, he's going to do a charge at you, so be ready to jump upwards. That is pretty much all the tips you can kind of give for this first phase, because that's pretty much it. You just always want to stay on top of each other so that the fight is very close quarters, almost like you're fighting a training dummy almost. Yeah, his attacks for the most part are fairly easy to dodge, and just always lead with your triangle combo. You should note, however, that you can't use focus attacks against this boss because he's the final boss. So when you get outside in the rain during phase 2, this is where it starts to get a bit more tricky. I really struggled to get a handle on this fight and when exactly I could attack him and actually do some damage, because I would end up getting close to him and he'd end up doing this like bullshit move where he sort of grabs me and just takes away my health, and you saw it there where it was potential to do it. He sort of stands there and he lowers his hand and he sort of makes a noise, and I'm pretty sure if you go to attack him here, he will always take you out. He will like grab you, spin you around and just beat the shit out of you, so don't go near him when he's doing that. Just back off and wait for him to stop.
Another annoying move that he'll do a lot is this sweep attack. That's part of like this 3 or 4 hit combo he does. It's always like his final move, but there is another version of the combo where he can do a high kick, and I would just always mess it up and always forget to dodge it, or I'd try and dodge it but he wouldn't, and he'd end up just sweeping my leg and just chipping away at my health that way. That was the main move. That and the grab combo that he does, that was the reasons why I kept dying over and over again. The amount of times he killed me with that leg sweep, there was just too many of them. It became really frustrating because it's hard to I just found it really hard to time. So at one point during the fight, at multiple points during the fight, he'll do this charging attack where his hands glow orange, and if you can dodge that, that is your moment to punish. You're sort of seeing it on screen here where he'll zoom in, you can dodge him, then you can punch him, then he might jump back, and then he'll zoom back in again, and you can get like a sequence of like 3 multiple hit combos in a row, take a lot of damage off of him. Once you do the final one though, just back off because he can end up grabbing you at some point. So you just want to space out and wait for him to come at you again. If you're lucky, he'll get in a sort of loop where he just keeps repeating that combo a few times, so you can get lots of these 3 hits in a row on him. So if you're unfortunate, you might end up doing a load of those leg sweeps just to take your health away.
So beating the game for the first time will probably take you anywhere between 5 and 10 hours, as it's very skill and player dependent. I platinumed the whole game in 20 hours, and after beating the game for the first time, you then get another set of trophies underneath those for obtaining certain talisman, like the wood, fire and water talismans, and I thought these would be secret item boxes that you could unlock with a special key or something like that. But it's actually for sparing all of the bosses. Yep, that's right, you don't actually have to kill them. So when you're fighting a boss and you build up its structure meter, the orange meter at the top above their white health bar, you'll often have a triangle and circle prompt appear, and usually when you're playing the game, you press that, you'll just kill the boss, and that's how you finish them and move them to the second stage, and then you repeat the process again with that boss again on that phase to finish them off. But when you're on the second phase, as soon as you see that triangle and circle prompt, you don't want to press it. You want to let them recover, and you'll notice that their structure meter goes down ever so slightly, and now you want to build that back up by either punching them, but if they don't have much health left, just use the block button to block their attacks, because every time you block one of their attacks, the bar will slowly fill up, And your aim now is to just get that orange structure meter filled back up so you can see the triangle circle prompt appear. However, this time there will also be a left on the D-pad option to spare them, and that's what you need to press. And once you do that, you'll trigger the end fight animation, but this time you'll get a new scene where you see that the boss is still alive. And you need to do that for all of the bosses in the game, as you'll get these special emblems appear, and it relates to the true ending of the game, basically. And you can't spare the final boss until you've beaten all the others like that. However, the good thing about it is you don't have to spare them all in the same playthrough. You could reset or go into other levels to reset it that way, and you'll still get your tick mark against that enemy that you've spared, so it's nice in that respect. So next up, we have some of the harder trophies in the game. Scaleless requires us to beat the game aged 50 or lower, while Prodigal Child requires you to do it at 25 years or lower, and these are the hardest trophies in the game and will likely be a platinum blocker for some. But patience is the key. Practice the boss fights and the levels, and you'll route through them, and eventually you will start to do better in the levels and reduce the age you are upon finishing each one. So the mechanic of this game is basically that every time you die, you end up aging, and you start off at 20 years old and you can end up in your 70s, and once you reach the year of 70 something, your next death will be your last, and you will die outright, and that'll be the end of your run, so to speak. But you will still have all your progress from all of the levels you've played, and you can go back to any of them in order to improve them. Think of it as trying to improve a high score, but this time the result is you can start the next level at a younger age because you finished it at a younger age on the previous one. So yeah, it is a tough challenge, don't get me wrong. I did struggle with it, and there were points during my run where I just thought, oh my god, I can't do this, I'm gonna fail. But by the end of my run, I completed the first level without dying. The second level I got unlucky and died twice. In the third level, the museum, I died once on the boss, but on the fourth level I got through the whole thing without dying once, so I could go to the final level at aged 23, which allowed me 2 lives. Now, because of the death counter, which goes up every time you die and increases your age by the amount of times you've died, I could only die once in each phase of this boss fight, so it was still quite tricky to do. One of the tips I will say is to just back up your save to the cloud all the time. So if you clear a tough room, quit out the game and back up your save and just reload it again and download it again. If you fail or take too much damage in the next room or you die, you can always reload it and do it that way. It is a bit slower because you're constantly going in and out of the game, backing it up, downloading your save and replacing it and all that, but it's a lot more manageable like that. It's a lot less bullshit thanks to the ability to be able to do that. If you're on PS4, you can also back up multiple ones on a USB to make it a little bit quicker. The toughest challenge is probably the final boss, in my opinion, especially when you're under the restriction of having only a couple of lives. So you may want to do it where you get there at age 22 or something like that, just to have a bit of a more breathing room so you can die a couple of times in one of the phases instead of just once. But again, it's just practice. That's the main thing I could say. Master the L1 button to be able to dodge, and then just time your strikes right. Don't get too greedy on some of the fights. You know, back away, because they'll probably end up doing some bullshit move on you, or they'll end up hitting you and phasing through your punches kind of thing. But yeah, it was actually a fun challenge, to be fair, but definitely back up your saves to the cloud, because otherwise this would just be really fucking hard. Take advantage of that while you can, because there's no guarantee that the devs won't patch this out and do something bullshit like the Kena Bridges Spirits devs did with that glitch trophy for the hard mode. But yeah, it will take you a long time. You know, there were times where I was failing in one room and I'd spend 10 minutes or so just trying to get through it, and then I'd back up my save so I'd be alright. At least I've got that progress then, even though it took me fucking ages. But yeah, it's just as you go through the game, you know, you'll do a couple of levels, and maybe I would also suggest, if you are trying to do this on your first run, once you get to a new level, just play through it, back up your save, and play through it normally. Don't worry if you die, because you've experienced the level, and you'll more than unlikely unlock the level shortcuts. Like on level 3, the shortcut there allows you to run straight to the boss, so you can skip out the whole level. But yeah, that's one that will take you a while to get, for sure. Next up, we have another tricky one, the Kill Nil trophy, which requires you to beat a boss without dying, and thankfully this can be any boss, and it doesn't have to be all of them. So I would recommend doing it on the very first level's boss, as he's the easiest one to do it on. Take in a bamboo stick with you for the first phase. You can get it outside the room just before that off one of the guys there, and just hit him with the triangle and square attacks. For the second phase, you'll lose your bamboo stick, but there are actually several of them on the floor around the area. If you run around the back of some of the trees, you can pick them up and use them to just take him out. You can do a lot more damage with that. And also, if you are struggling, when you're running through level 1 and you get to the Jade Shrines, always buy a focus meter, because by the time you get to the end, you'll be able to go into the boss fight with 2 focus meters, allowing you to do some more takedowns and more easily get the Kill Nil trophy. But yeah, that's not a hard one, really. By the time you've done all the other things, you'll be a master of the combat anyway. So next up, we have a bunch of collectible related trophies. So thankfully, when you're on the level select screen, you can see exactly how many you have and how many there are in the levels, as well as all the key shortcuts that you need. So these collectibles are just random things that you'll find as you go through the level. Sometimes they'll just be, you know, you'll get to a locked door and it will come up as a photograph on the detective board saying this door's locked. So somewhere, maybe in that level or in another level, there'll be a key for it. So it's one where you can't get all of the levels collectibles the first time through. You've got to advance through the other levels to find things. Like in level 1, that door is always locked, and it's not until level 4, once you find a computer that you can access, that you can get in there. So as well as like picking up items off the floor and things, there are also other sort of collectibles in the game. There are certain situations where you can trigger conversations in order to get the collectibles, like this one in the club when you first enter. The guy on the reception, if you talk to him and ask him about Sean, I think it is, eventually he will give you some information about a list, and that's how you get that one. So when you do see some enemies, don't always go in there fighting if they're not doing anything, because sometimes you can talk to them. On the third level in the museum, you'll eventually get a key to the artist's room, which I think is in either the 5th or 4th level. So then you can go back to there on like the 4th floor and open the door there, and you'll find some of the last things you need. It's all easily tracked within there in the notice board, and you can bring up the pause menu to have a look at that and find it. In the 4th level, I had to get a USB from the DJ in the club once I'd learnt that I needed a code for the computer in level 4. So that was another one where you had to go back, because if you tried to talk to him when you first play through level 2, you don't know about the PC that's got a password on it to ask him about it. So once you ask him about it, he gives you a USB, then you can go back there, use the USB in the computer to unlock a secret door to get those collectibles. So that's kind of how it works, basically. The final level also has a special collectible, which is tied to the sparing ending, and that's all I'll say with that one. The Stuntmaster trophy is one where it just requires you to leap over objects. This is one you'll probably end up getting early on, because if like me, you will be vaulting over things to get away from some of the enemies. Like in the club, you can vault over the bars and over the like sofas that are in the club. So it's just one that I would say you will more than likely just naturally get as you're going through, and that's probably why it's just a simple bronze trophy more than anything. So next up we have the Praying Mantis trophy. So this one requires you to throw enemies, I believe. So this was a move that I was aware of it because I saw a tutorial about it, but when I was playing through it for the first time, I never really threw enemies. So in order to throw them, you have to first sort of daze the enemy. So you can either do it when they have the triangle and circle prompt on screen, or if, say, like you block an enemy's attack, sometimes you'll see they get stunned by it, and then you can just run up to them, press square and X, and then a direction, and you'll throw them. And once you do that so many times, you'll get the trophy. So street fighting relates to using objects as weapons. So there's a skill you can permanently unlock called Environmental Mastery, which allows you to use objects in the environment as projectiles. So you'll see bottles on tables in the club that you can pick up and throw. There's these little like stools and cushion seats that you can push with your feet to trip people up, and they appear as variations of those objects in pretty much all of the levels in the game. So that's another easy one you can get. Next up, we have a bunch of skill unlock related trophies. So as you're going through the game, you'll learn XP and points which you can spend to unlock certain abilities. When you first buy them, you just get them for that run, and the game makes you buy them multiple times within the run in order to permanently unlock them forever. So if you die, you would still keep them at that point if they were permanently unlocked. So the first time you buy one, you'll unlock the Life is Your Teacher trophy, and in order to get the State of Constant Learning, you just need to buy one of them several times in order to fully unlock it permanently. So there are multiple skills you can buy here. Some of the focus moves you'll need to keep because they're really useful to get through the level, and you'll need to buy all of those anyway for another trophy. But yeah, the first time you buy a skill permanently, you'll get this trophy. Some of them though, like the combo moves, I never really bothered to buy because I didn't really need them. I think I brought like the triangle move and a couple of others, but for the most part I didn't need them because I was doing fine with the others. So maybe focus on some of the better ones there, to be fair. So the next ones we have are the score related trophies, which I briefly just mentioned. So there's 3 of these, each relating to a different type of thing that you can buy when you find these green jade statues in the levels. So there's usually about 3 of these in a level. One is sort of in the midway point of a level. Another one is sort of like on a hidden path that you have to just explore to find. And another is just before the end of the boss. So you need to buy always the furthest right one in each of the categories: the age, the score, and the XP. And once you buy those, you'll get the trophy. I would say buy the age one in the first level because you'll still be young. The score one for 5,000 points is best getting in the second level of the game because it's the longest one and you'll easily get 5,000 points there. And then the XP one can just be brought at any other point in any of the other levels once you've got 3,000 or so XP to be able to purchase it. You may or may not find bullshit depending on your playthrough, as there's still another one that does have a whiff of bullshit about it, I'm afraid. And sadly, it's one that may lead you to be very frustrated depending on your luck in playing through the game. And it's the 36th Chamber of Kung Fu trophy, which requires you to perform each takedown type at least once. So takedowns are moves you can do when you build up an enemy's structure meter. So once it breaks, you can do a triangle and circle prompt in order to initiate like a quick time kill finishing move. And when I was playing through the game, I'd finished the story and I was just replaying levels looking for the secrets and other misc trophies, and I just eventually got it here when I hit the guy on the ground with my bat or whatever it was. But when I was playing through it on the PS4 version, I had a much tougher time trying to unlock the 36th Chamber of Kung Fu trophy. So there's all sorts of different types of takedowns you can do, and the trophy says you need to do barehanded with a weapon, standing up against a wall, on the ground. Doing all of those will pop the trophy. So ones like doing someone on the ground is easy, as well as the standing up one. That's one that you'll just get all the time. You can also throw enemies into the walls, or if they fall into it, you can do a move then, and that'll sort of smack them against the wall. Likewise, if you're sort of standing near a wall or an object, 9 times out of 10, the animation will probably trigger it as the character is sort of hitting them into the wall. So those ones aren't too bad. There also seems to be character specific ones, as she seems to do different animations depending on the enemy type you're triggering it against. There's also an easily missable one, the running jump takedown. So once you stun the enemy, you see the prompt, run towards them with R2 and then press it. Weapon takedowns are also a bit of a pain because there's so many weapons, and each weapon has multiple different takedown animations. So here we see the broom. This is the first takedown I do. Sort of 2 hits to slam them down into the ground. The second one, she sort of pokes at them. The third one, I trip the person up and then initiate the takedown, and she whacks them while they're on the floor. There's another one here where they're near a wall and she uses the broom to smack them into the wall. So does they all count? Do I have to do that for each weapon? Do I have to just do one weapon, one takedown? Or do I have to do all the types of takedowns for each weapon? It never really tells you, and it can be really hard to know if you have to do them all or not. Because like with the knife, you get different ones with different enemies, as well as where you are in the environment, and it just becomes really awkward to try and do them all. Like, obviously when you're just playing through the game, it won't really matter because you're not focusing on it. But when you get to the end and that's the only trophy you need, and you try to figure out which one you haven't done, it becomes a pain. And the ground ones, my god, trying to do some of them actually are a pain, especially when you have a weapon, because 9 times out of 10, she will do the kick, this ground kick. Even if you have the sword, the dagger or the bat in your hand, she will very rarely do the finishing move with the weapon, this bat strike here. And take this for an example, my very last one on PS5 was the bat ground takedown, because she would just never do it up until that point. Oh god. Ledge takedowns also suck. It's really awkward and misleading when you read that description, because I just didn't know what that meant. So I spent ages in the club trying to get enemies on this little ledge here. I would try and grab them from below, but she wouldn't pull them down or anything like that. So I ruled that out pretty much right away. But a lot of the times when I was trying to get them as they were next to a ledge, it would just lead to some really embarrassing deaths for myself. Like this here, where I drop like knee height and I die.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Or here in level 2, when I was trying to get him off this ledge, I just get knocked back and killed myself.
What? What the fuck?
And then this one here in the museum, when I just get my ass kicked down the stairs and end up dying. Fuck's sake. Yeah, the ledges are definitely the most awkward one. I tried doing it on the stairs with me being below and them above me, and that did trigger some unique ones. But again, I don't know whether they count or not. Are they just the wall move? It's really awkward to know what actually counts as the ledge takedown, but I think it's this here. So, look, she gets knocked into it, and then you get kicked in the back to slam her into that wall. And then here, this is where I get the trophy now. So I think you need to do them against like waist-high ledges or walls, and that will get you that takedown, and hopefully that will be you getting the trophy. Next up in the default list, we have the Master of the Phoenix Eye Fist, which requires you to use each of the focus attacks at least once. So these are ones that you're going to have to buy, so aim to buy these to keep them permanently, or just buy them once and hope that you get through all the levels without resetting. And you've just got to use each focus attack at least once. So some of the focus attacks require 3 focus bars, so you will have to upgrade those as you're playing through in order to use the ones that require 3. There's a few that require 2 bars and the rest will just be 1. So once you fill the bar up by dodging enemy attacks at the right time, you can then hold the L2 button, I think it was, to bring up the slow-mo and this dial, so you can then rotate it to select the move you want to do. For me, one of the ones I always missed was the double palm, which I think you get pretty much straight away, but I could never see it on there, so don't move the stick, and I think you see that one. That's how you get that, I think. So next up, we have I Know Kung Fu, which is a score-based trophy for getting 3,000 points in a level. That one you can easily do in the first level. And the 5,000 points trophy, the Ferocity one, that is one where, like I said earlier, you can easily get that in level 2 because it's like the longest one in the game. There's loads of enemies and loads of opportunities to get a good combo to increase your multiplier for the score. So basically, if you taunt enemies with the right D-pad button, you can taunt the enemy to increase your multiplier, or if you don't get hit for a while, it will increase, and it's just an easy way to get your score up. So the next trophy is the Old Child Bronze Trophy, and this just requires you to reach your oldest age, which basically just means getting into your 70s from dying loads. So this is one you're guaranteed to get, whether you get it on the first level or the last level. At some point, you will more than likely have died too many times and aged right up to your 70s. So this one is just, yeah, it's a token trophy. On a side note though, this woman here that just killed me, you don't actually have to fight her unless you want to get the collectible off her. Otherwise, you can just leave her and walk away. So the Sword Stained with Blood trophy requires you to use a Blade Weapon's one-hit kill move. So this one requires you to buy I think it's the Charged Shot skill from the Jade statues when you do your permanent moves, basically. And basically you hold down L1 and triangle, it will charge up an attack, and you need to have one of these like daggers, and once an enemy comes near you just let it go to lunge at them, and it should kill them in one hit. So the museum's a good place to do that, as there's an enemy at the start with one of these blades. And also the 4th level, which you can see here, is where I got it on the PS4 when I was doing it again. So yeah, it's one that you might not know about, but yeah, it's a skill you need to buy, Charged Shot, and then you get a knife and just stab them by holding the triangle button and L1. So Lightning Hands requires you to perform 3 takedowns within 12 seconds. And when I saw this in the trophy list before I started playing the game, I was like, fucking hell, this is probably going to be a pain in the ass to get. But this was like the second trophy I got after completing the prologue and then playing through the first mission. Once I got to this really cool corridor section, I easily killed people within that time limit and got the trophy without really going for it. Kung Fu Tussle trophy for hitting 3 enemies in a single strike. Now, when I was playing this on the PS5, I got this on my first visit to the club level, which is the 2nd level in the game, and this trophy just popped up as I was going through the club, and I didn't even realise what I actually done, or what the actual trophy was, because I just knocked this guy off the ledge here, and I got the trophy. So I just figured when I was playing it that it was for just knocking someone off a ledge and killing them that way, but it's actually for killing 3 enemies in a single strike. And when I came back to play it on the PS4 version, I had a much more tougher time to get this trophy. So yeah, when I went back through the club level, I didn't actually get this trophy, because when I knocked the guy down, he didn't actually land on anyone, because I think if an enemy you knocks into someone else, that counts as one of the 3. So eventually I found a trick to do it when I looked online. You need to buy the 360 focus skill, as well as get your focus bar upgraded so you can get 2 of them to be able to use this skill. And then on the final level, you can steal the staff bow thing off of the last guy before the final boss, and then lure them all back to this area in the corner. And that caused me to die a few times before eventually I sorted my act out and managed to finally get it. But it was much more of a ball ache on the PS4 version the second time round through going for a platinum, because I just didn't look out like I did when I played it on the PS5 and just randomly got it without really knowing. Right, that's the Kung Fu Tussle one out of the way. So next up we have Path of Prospect, which requires us to unlock the Mighty Calbot move. Now this is a focus attack, it's kind of a secret one basically, which you'll find in the museum on the 4th floor, but you first need to get the key in order to get into this gated area, I think. So it's one that you'll have to come back to a bit later on. But after you defeat the woman in there, you need to look at the statue that she was staring at. It's this little green mask. As soon as you press X on it, you'll unlock a trophy, because it relates to their previous game, Absolver. So it's a nice little Easter egg trophy. And you need to buy that move in order to get all the focus attacks trophy done. So the Rumble in the Hangar trophy is another one that might give you a problem. So whatever you do, don't take the shortcut on the first level to get to this hangar entrance, because if you enter the hangar from the bottom floor via the locker room, you won't be able to get this trophy. So you need to go through the route of the level normally, getting the key to open that gate and then entering into the hangar from the very top floor. So as soon as you enter the hangar, you now need to take out some enemies silently, because this trophy requires you to kill all of the ground floor enemies in the main area by the tables in under 1 minute 20 seconds after alerting them. So once it starts, wait at the top for a little bit for a guy to walk across the walkway, then go up behind him and hit him. You'll catch him off guard and you'll be able to do the triangle circle move to take them out. Then get the one at the other end and double back around to get this guy on the opposite side. Drop down to the right, like you can see in the video, and take this guy out in this little room. Then you want to wait on this corner for the patrolling guard to walk around. Once he can't see you anymore, you run out and get this next guy. You can take that one out without them seeing, and then they get alerted at that point, and then once they're alerted, then the timer starts. So you now just want to get them done as quick as possible. There is another pipe on that table there that you can see me grabbing now that will give you a good helping hand to take them all out. Be aware when using the triangle circle takedown on some of these enemies, as there's one or two that will do the rage thing and they'll get all their health back and become more aggressive and stronger. So you might just want to take them out by just hitting them instead of doing that move. If you can do it under the time limit, which you should be able to, you'll get that trophy. Just remember to go from the top floor, otherwise it won't unlock. The Pit Protector trophy is another one of these misc trophies that are just hidden ones in levels, and this one occurs in level 2. So the idea here is when you drop down into this pit in the club, you want to take out the big juggernaut guy first before you kill anyone else. It's okay to hit the other enemies as long as you don't kill them, so just use your focus attacks on him or hit him with the baseball bat if he's still got it, and just take him out as soon as you can. And as soon as you kill him, providing he was the first one you killed down there, you'll get the Pit Protector trophy. So that's a nice easy one really. Next up is the Be Like Water My Friend trophy, which unlocks in level 3 the museum and requires you to just throw someone off of a balcony. So you can do this near enough at the start. Once you go up to the second floor, there's like 2 guards up here. So just stand by the edge like you see I'm doing and just block until you can block at the right time and stun the enemy. So once you see them looking a little bit dizzy, press X and square and then hold to the left facing the ledge, and he should just automatically lob them off the ledge. There's a troll trophy in level 4, like the take damage to save time trophy, which hints that you need to take a shortcut in the tower's caves level, which is the 4th level of the game. And when you get down into this cave section, it's not long before you see these 2 paths that you can take, and it just looks like a small drop down on the right hand side, and when you look at it you kind of just think, yeah, that must just be a nice shortcut down there, so I'm just gonna go and take this instead of going the other way. But when you do take the shortcut, it only leads to your fucking death. Jeez, thanks a lot, game. Fuck's sake, what a load of bullshit. Now, when I first got the trophy, I noticed it popped while I was still in the air, so when I replayed the game on the PS4 version, I decided to run off the edge of this ledge and pause the game, and then I unpaused and paused again, and when the trophy popped I was still alive, so I just quit out to the main menu and then reloaded my save to avoid having that death count, so you can at least avoid that bullshit one. The next trophy is for the final level of the game, and it requires you to throw an enemy off of the mountain. So this one you need to do in the area just before the boss building. So there's a bunch of enemies you can lure over to this far left hand side where there's balconies. There's a collectible here and a guy you can talk to that's friendly. So basically you just want to block until you can stun an opponent or get them down to their triangle circle move, and then press X and square in the direction of the balcony in order to lunge them off and see some really bad ragdoll physics. So the very final trophy in the game is a really simple one, just getting you to use the photo mode once. So you can activate photo mode at any time by pressing down on the D-pad and then selecting photo mode. This will allow you to just position the camera, change your filters, doing all the usual stuff. And I think as soon as you in photo mode and you've been in there for a few seconds, I think the trophy then just pops up automatically. You don't actually have to take a photo, so just be aware of that in case you wanted to use this as your final thing where you take a picture. It will trigger even if you're in there and you haven't actually took a photo yet. So once you do all of those trophies, you'll then find yourself with the Fist of the Immortal Platinum trophy for your efforts. So yeah, like I said at the start, platinum this game because it's a really fun and kind of challenging platinum, but it's definitely a rewarding one once you get the hang of the game mechanics and use that L1 to block and dodge. That's the key to your victory, basically. Thank you very much for watching. Share your platinum tips in the comments below, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Super Beanie Man Gaming. He's got his beanie on. He switched to console on. It's just a game, so why's he getting so pissed off? He's playing shitty games, the ones he seems to hate. Game over again. Okay, let's give this one more try.